Is there any written evidence that Aurangzeb demolished the Kashi Vishwanath temple in 1669? Here I am speaking of written evidence as distinct from archaeological evidence and epigraphic evidence. The archaeological evidence in this case has been dug up in part by the ASI, or the Archaeological Society of India, on the orders of the courts. And epigraphic evidence is another kind of evidence. It relates to evidence found from inscriptions at a place. So, for example, where the Babri Masjid stood, inside the Babri Masjid, there was an inscription. The mosque had been built by one of Babur's generals, Mir Baki, on the instructions of Babur in 1528. Is there any written evidence? If it is indeed true that Aurangzeb demolished the Kashi Vishwanath temple during his rule, then was that the last of the demolitions carried out in Kashi? Let's start with the first question. Aurangzeb's rule began in the year 1658. All the Mughal rulers had a habit of keeping detailed accounts of their rule. The habit, in fact, had started right at the time of Babur, because Babur wrote what is called as the Babur Nama. Akbar had carried the tradition forward by publishing what is known as the Akbar Nama. Jahangir followed with an even more detailed account, which is known as the Tuzuke Jahangiri. Aurangzeb did indeed keep back an account of his rule. It's a detailed account. It's in two parts. The first part relates to the first decade of his rule, that is from 1658 to 1668. And the second part deals with 1668 to 1707. It is the second part of the document that we are concerned with. The second part of Aurangzeb's account of his rule is known as the Masire Alamgiri. This account was written by Saki Mustad Khan, who had been appointed by Aurangzeb's favorite person, his secretary, to write this account. How was this account put together? The Mughal Darbar had a habit that they had news writers in their various provinces who would routinely send them reports from those provinces on what were the important happenings in those provinces in a particular period of time. So when Saki Mustad Khan began writing his account of Aurangzeb's rule, all the court records and all the news chronicles were given to him so that a coherent narrative and a chronological narrative could be put together. This narrative is known as the Masire Alamgiri. We are specifically concerned with the year 1669 because that is when references to Kashi or Banaras are found in this account. The first reference is available from the month of April 1669. Now I have here a copy of the Masire Alamgiri. It was translated by the brilliant Indian historian Jadunath Sarkar. And Sarkar in his account translates the entire document. In his account of April 1669, the Lord Cherisher of the Faith. Here Aurangzeb is referred to as the Lord Cherisher of the Faith. The faith here meaning the Islamic faith. The Lord Cherisher of the Faith learned that in the provinces of Thatta, Multan and especially at Banaras, the Brahmin misbelievers used to teach their false books in their established schools. This Thatta province is in Sindh in Pakistan now. Multan obviously is in Pakistan now. And remember, the reference to Banaras says that this is happening especially at Banaras. Admirers and students, both Hindu and Muslims, used to come from great distances to these misguided men in order to acquire this wild learning. This learning is obviously from the Hindu holy texts. His Majesty, that is Aurangzeb, eager to establish Islam, issued orders to the governors of all the provinces to demolish the schools and temples of the infidels and with the utmost urgency put down the teaching and the public practice of the religion of these misbelievers. So this first reference comes in April 1669. The second reference then comes in the month of September. In September 1669, Saki Mustad Khan writes, "It was reported that according to the emperor's command, his officers had demolished the temple of Vishwanath at Kashi." This is an admission, and a rather proud admission, in Aurangzeb's official account of his own rule, that the temple of Kashi was demolished in September 1669 on the orders of Aurangzeb. We have written evidence to the effect in Aurangzeb's own account. Now we come to the second question. Was this the last of demolitions to take place at Kashi? The answer to it is no, it wasn't. What happened after the demolition of that temple, the main temple in Kashi in 1669, was that the Hindus built a shrine nearby and they began worshipping at that shrine. And this is from the year 1755. Many of us may believe that Ahilyabai Holkar rebuilt the temple of Kashi sometime in 1760 to 1780. And that reconstruction was of the actual temple of Kashi, the main temple of Kashi. That is not true. Because let me tell you what happened in the year 1755. This is an account of the life of Shuja-ud-Dawla, who was the governor of that province in the middle of the 18th century. So the Hindus had started worshipping at a small shrine close to the demolished original shrine of the Hindus. And what happened at that shrine in the year 1755? Determined to revive the long-forgotten days of Aurangzeb, the Qazi of the town of Banaras rallied a party of fanatical Muslims and demolished on 2nd of September 1755 the renovated temple of Vishweshwar, situated in a corner of the Alamgiri Mosque. Interestingly, this Alamgiri Mosque itself has been built by demolishing one other temple in Banaras by Aurangzeb. And it's called the Alamgiri Mosque. It's named after Alamgir. Alamgir is Aurangzeb himself. That's the title that Aurangzeb gave to himself, Alamgir Aurangzeb. And this mosque, after demolishing one of the shrines of the Hindus, was known as the Alamgiri Mosque. Upon this, the Peshwa, Nanasaheb Peshwa is the Maratha Peshwa at that time, asked Shuja to hand over the holy city to the Marathas. The Marathas were then expanding all across the north, and when they learnt of this demolition, this fresh demolition in 1755, the Peshwa asked the governor of the province, Shuja, to hand over the place, the entire town, to the Marathas. He prepared a sanad to that effect and made it over to the Maratha agent Gopal Rao Ganesh. But Raghunath Rao broke off the negotiations with Shuja. So the negotiations never really succeeded. The temple remained demolished. And it was this demolished temple, this small shrine, that was rebuilt later by Ahilyabai Holkar. It is not the original temple that was demolished. So it may come as a surprise to many that after the temple of Kashi was demolished by Aurangzeb in the year 1669, the alternative shrine that the Hindus had put up in its place was also demolished 100 years later, or specifically 90 years later, by the local Qazi with the help of some fundamentalist Islamists. The answer to two of our questions, number one, is yes, there is written evidence in Aurangzeb's official account that the temple of Kashi was demolished in 1669 on his orders. And second, the temple of Kashi, the other shrine that the Hindus had put up there, close to the original place of their devotion, was demolished 90 years later by the local Qazi or the Islamic priest or pontiff at the time. And it was that shrine that was rebuilt by Ahilyabai Holkar later. Thank you, dear friends. And if you still haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I'll be back soon with a new video. Thank you so much. See you soon.